What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 69 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where three best buds from different nations come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Stephen Radford.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Max Wright.
Gabagool.
Gabagool to you too, Max.
Thank you.
It is the most wonderful time of the year, everybody. And by that, of course, I mean the Game Awards have come and gone, right? We just last night, the Game Awards came, and it was a pretty, we'll say an interesting show, because we're going to talk about our thoughts on it in just a second here. But yeah, this week's episode is all about the TGAs. We're going to talk about our impressions of the show overall and how we felt Jeff and the crew did this time around in 2022. Then we're going to get into all of the biggest announcements from the show, as well as a couple of our favorites that maybe don't, quite have that same marquee status. And then, of course, we're going to close out the show by seeing who won our prediction game. Because, of course, last week's show, if you tuned in, we gave our thoughts on who was going to win in most of the major categories, as well as predictions for things that might happen at the show.
Spoiler alert, I've decided I don't care about who wins or who loses. It doesn't matter. It's unimportant.
It's about taking part.
It's all about having fun, right? It's all
That's
about
what losers say.
That is what losers say. You're right. Spoilers for that. I'm the best ever. All right? And you guys will never catch up to me.
Like I said, doesn't matter.
Anyway, so let's start off with some general impressions. So in terms of the show itself, right? I think this was a real improvement from last year. I think last year, Steve and I both were of the opinion that it felt like a down year, right? And that like the shift to it being a non-in-person event had definitely not helped the show, and that there had been kind of particularly last year, a lot of criticism around not giving the winners enough time to speak or, to speak at all. And I think in more ways than not, the show improved on most of the things I had issues with last year. I felt like the commercials were less intrusive. I felt like, the winners in some cases had their moment. I think we can talk about some of the areas where that was not quite as good. But by and large, it felt like a massive improvement on how the show's been the last year or so for me. And I'd say I'd comfortably give it, at least a B plus, as far as, rating it as an overall, games event.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the pacing was better, even though it was a long show. We only had we had two musical performances. One was sort of an announcement for a game and a release date, so I kind of give that one a little bit of leeway. It was just Hosier that was the one musical performance that Jeff had booked with his orchestra this year, and then obviously the rounding out for the game of the year. So they were less egregious than last year for sure. Or 2019 where we had Green Day. I'll never forget that performance of Green Day at the
it was just
Game
like
Awards.
I mean, they've done that a million times, right? It's like they had Weezer, right? Like it's like they've done a lot of those where it's just like, and I like both of those bands, but it's like I'm not here to listen to them play.
No, I'm not here for live music. Yeah. Which I kind of get it. For an in-person event, kind of makes more sense. Like it breaks up the show. It's something for people
it's
to
for
watch,
the attendees,
right? Yeah. And I can accept that a lot more when it's a live in-person show. I do agree with you. I think obviously they gave speakers more time, probably a bit too much time in places. I don't think they could find the music for Christopher Judge's speech.
Christopher Judge talked for like 10 plus minutes. It was incredible. And I was like, is this going to be what everyone is like? Like everyone's going to just have as long as they want? And like is this Jeff's like response to the criticism? And then I was like, oh no, I think that was a mistake. Like I think they meant to wrap him up quite a bit earlier and couldn't, for whatever reason.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. It reminded me of I can't remember who what her name is, but she was. No, it was I think it's Olivia someone, and she was at the Oscars and she put a middle finger up at the screen and she was like, She told them to piss off because she was like, they told her that she was going too long, and she just carried on going.
My favorite part about Christopher Judge's speech is when they finally played the music to like shuffle him off. It just made it sound more epic because of how incredible his voice is.
I thought it was a whole bit. Yeah, I thought it was part of it. I thought, oh wow, okay, they're really getting into this, like this speech. It was a really powerful speech, and like he's obviously really proud of his brother, talking about how he like changed his life, wanting to thank absolutely everyone. It was a cool little like backstory into the fact that he wouldn't have taken the part if he'd have known it was a game. Like he wouldn't have even auditioned for it, like back then, before like he obviously took the part and knew what it was, because he's a TV and film actor, and he quit when Cory Barlog told him that that he wasn't going to be directing the second game. Like was just that, I'm not going to do it then, and like Cory had to convince him to do the second game.
Yeah, it was a really, really good speech, and I did appreciate it. I think my favorite thing about it afterwards though is I was like going on, I mean, I was on Twitter and I follow Christopher, and I'm trying to find the tweet because I sent it to Sarah last night, and yeah, here he goes. He goes, hold on, it's loading. Thank you. Thank all of you for your congratulations. I was cut off before I could finish. I wanted to end by thanking my ride or die beautiful wife, Gia Judge, who held it down when everything else was at its most difficult. I love you. Which, of course, very, very nice, you know. But I thought it was very funny that he was like, they cut me off. And I was like, Christopher, you talked for 10 minutes. You thanked every person you could ever have thanked. But yeah, I was.
Yeah, well, Al Pacino was just stood on stage, just like slowly wilting away, like just like, oh my god.
He's just like, oh my god.
I felt so sorry for
legs.
him.
I'll tell you what, you know, I don't love the need for like, let's bring celebrities and actors and like people that don't care about video games, right? Like when they had Rahul Cooley give the best narrative award, and it's like he's a gamer. Right? So, like, if they want to bring in somebody who fucking plays video games and, like, has acted in a video game, things like that, like, cool, great. But, like, do we need Al Pacino to come in and give an award, right?
Al Pacino even said at one point, he was like, I'm surprising myself. I'm doing something. I have no idea what it is again. I'm like, oh my God, where did we pick Al Pacino off the street? And we were just like, come on, Al. Come on in.
But I have to say,
do this for us.
I thought he did an okay job though, right? When he got into the whole like, when he's like, you know, like I don't really play video games. I'm old, but I've watched my kids play video games, and I've been really impressed to watch how the medium has grown and how, you know, like it's this great avenue for storytelling, and I really respect these actors and blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, you saved it, because he came out and I was like, what the fuck is, like, why did they shuffle him out on stage to just do this? And he can't see the teleprompter, and I was like,
yeah, he was going so slowly through it, like having to focus on every single word he was saying because it was clearly so far away.
Yeah,
and he couldn't read the teleprompter.
But he got there. He got there.
It was a good start. I mean, that was after the 30-minute pre-show. I tuned in. I was like, oh, okay, we're doing the whole pre-show thing again, where they rattle off a bunch of the. But they did this rattle off a bunch of the awards before the award show even starts, before a bunch of people have even tuned in, and no one gets to like give an acceptance speech or even like thank you. They had the pre-show. They did not.
Yes, they did. They had 2 acceptance speeches in the pre-show. It was both for best mobile game and best fighting game.
Mobile game was the pre-show, was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I thought that was during the main event.
No, that's the thing. Like
pre-show, if you're going to have the show during it.
I know. I don't get it.
The pre-show is when they say the show starts, though, right? Like they say the show starts at 7:30, and it's. Yeah. That's really the show. You know, I don't even understand why there's a distinction between the two, honestly, but
no, it's really strange. It's just like Jeff's busy getting ready out back for the big awards. So
I mean, it probably does have something to do with that, right? Because they have I forget her name, but she's hosted it the last couple of years, and they have her, you know, run that part of the show instead of Jeff. But yeah, they gave those 2 awards and let those people speak, and then every other award was one of the esports ones, and they just like ran through all of those. They didn't even read everybody's names. They just were like, here are the nominees.
Yeah,
this
I know,
person
that
wins.
Was crazy. Yeah. They rattled, but even during the main show, they rattled through some of the awards. Like again, we had best indie and best debut indie. And I
Yeah.
get that it was Stray, right? So, but so
They had already gotten to
they'd
speak.
already spoken.
Yeah.
They'd already got to speak, so it made sense a little bit. But it's like Best Indie's like a big award
It
in
should
my
be.
eyes. That's like a big honor. Like they should
Agreed.
be able to come up and accept it and say something like, "Wow, what an honor to be awarded for best indie," rather than it was it best art direction that they'd got the other award for that they'd spoken on.
Yes, I think that's right.
So yeah, I'm not sure which one they'd spoken on, but they'd already spoken by that
it wasn't
point. So they'd
art
obviously route through
direction.
that.
Who was it? They won 2.
Maybe it was Best Indie they spoke and they didn't speak for.
It
Best
must have been.
Debut
It must have
Indie or
been.
something.
And then they didn't speak for Best New Indie.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
which
the
makes
2
sense, I guess. Yeah.
But
But
I
then,
was
then like
thinking,
a load
like,
of them, right?
I was thinking about how like Elden Ring won Best Role Playing Game, right? And that was one of the ones that they ran past, and it was like, what if they hadn't won other major categories?
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna let
Yeah.
From Software talk about one of the big, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, and you know I guess they know those things, so they can plan like, okay, they're gonna get to talk later,
Mhm.
so we don't need them to talk when they win these other awards, right? Or we don't need to hear from the God of War team 4 times, right? Like, but you know, I wish that at least for like the quote unquote major categories, they would let everybody speak, you know.
That's how they do it at the Oscars, right? They televise all the major things, and then
They do a bunch of them
everyone gets to speak
on the
and then a
commercials.
bunch of them are like either before or after or during commercials. Yeah, like, and I think that's fine. Some of the more industry focused ones.
That's
But
the thing,
I
though,
guess
right?
it's different here.
It's because like they don't show like trailers for new movies at the Oscars. That's not like why. That's like a huge portion of the audience tunes in for the events, right? And like getting to see
I would
announcements.
say that's the majority of people tune in for the announcements rather than the awards.
And I think it's the
because
people
if you
like
wanted to
us.
watch just an award show, you'd watch like Dice. But people don't watch that as much as they watch TGA.
Well, it also it doesn't have the same it doesn't have the same like cachet, right? And I think that's probably part of it, right? Is that like this is as much a E3 style, here's a bunch of new games coming out event as it is a let's celebrate the games of this year. And you know, I get that they need to serve both of those, you know, purposes, but you know, it would be nice if everybody, it felt like people got a little bit more time. There was like that moment where like Doug Bowser was trying to give his speech on behalf of like the Bayonetta people, and they are Platinum, and they started like playing him off like as soon as he was reading their message, and he got like all flustered, and it's like, okay, like
that's probably because they didn't expect Christopher Judge to go 10+ minutes at the top.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they had to like
Yeah,
make
they had
up
to rush.
time somewhere. But yeah, that sucks. And
like that's a weird thing to me.
of-
It's like, why do you need to rush? It's an online show, like, and like I know that they had that
maybe
collaboration.
Microsoft are booting them out of the theater. They're like, come on, get out. We need to clear this out.
But it's like, you know, like I know they have they had that collaboration with that game company and Sky, and there was like a concert afterwards and whatever. But it's like maybe bake a little extra time.
That was a weird interaction. Like Jeff looked uncomfortable when she was just like she just came and she just like started swearing. Like Jeff looked actively uncomfortable next to her. Like, okay. It was like, what?
He never knows what he's gonna get, you know.
No, he really does not. I also it's not on your list. I really just like I could not get what Phil Spencer's face was feeling when they zoomed in on him.
He looked like deeply uncomfortable. Like he was like, "Why?"
He
like,
did, right?
Yeah, I was like, "What is
like,
happening?
Why are you zooming on me?"
Like he looked like mad.
Oh,
like he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." Like zoom in on my face. It's like, what? You're here at this event, like.
It's like, yeah, just been sued by the FTC, and now I'm sat in the audience here having to pretend that nothing's wrong
pissed.
whatsoever.
I think that was the problem. I think he was probably just in a bad fucking mood over what happened. It was like, all right, whatever. I got to show face. We don't even have time to talk. We'll talk about that next week, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you know, it's the Game Awards silliness and wacky moments that you'd expect, right? Animal from the Muppets was there, and he loves Elden Ring and Kojima. You know, you get your magical little moments.
I thought he was
like
really
that.
funny.
I love Animal. I love when the Muppets show up on like without qualification. One of my favorite, like, there's so many things about humanity that bum me out, right? But one of my favorite things is like the culture's acceptance of the idea that like when the Muppets are at a place, you just treat them like celebrities that are attending an event, and everybody's just in on the bit. And I'm like, I love that. I think a Muppet appearance in any context is delightful.
You also see when like Jeff was doing his like sponsored bit, and it was like, and the guy from Verizon sat in the audience, and the woman next to him was fucking priceless.
Dude,
she's like, oh my god.
She's like,
really?
oh my
It's
god.
The woman from Verizon, the guy from Verizon's next
He's
to me.
right
What
here.
The fuck?
I thought that was amazing. Yeah. She made that very funny. I was wondering if they were like together. Like, is this like his, his plus one or whatever,
like,
or is she just a random person who was just like, holy shit? I don't know. Either way, it's hilarious. But and then of course, one of my favorite moments with Animal was the interaction with him and Bear McCreary, where he's like, "Oh my god, it's like my favorite drummer." Like, a lot of cute.
Yeah, that was a lot of cute. Yeah.
We'll talk more about that stuff, I guess, a little bit later when we get into some of the awards and the predictions and whatnot. So let's get into the announcements. I want to kick this off with a question from Olaf from the Discord, who wrote in and said, "What was the biggest surprise of the night in terms of announcements?" I think for me, the biggest surprise, and I think it's weird that it didn't get more attention. Frankly, like people aren't talking about it more as like a big thing that happened, which is the first look at Judas, which is Ken Levine's new game, and this game's been in development for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and it looks like BioShock. It's just like, Ken, what you been doing? You made the same game again?
Yeah.
Who's upset about that though? Who's upset about that?
I'm not upset about it.
Like,
I'm upset with how he treats his staff based on like Jason Schreier's reporting in his previous book. Like, if that's how this game was made, it's been a rough ride for the developers of it.
I mean, I have no concept, because it's like, did it take 10 years because you took your time, or did it take in 10 years because you were throwing stuff out and starting over every few months or whatever? Because I know he has a penchant for that. So, here's the thing, right? Most auteur types, right, quote unquote, have a little bit of that energy, and it's like, I'm not here to talk about the merits or demerits of Ken Levine as a man, but as a developer, we all know that BioShock is one of the great works of the medium, and the idea that we're getting a seemingly very far along
spiritual successor, it seems like.
Yeah, well, and like it's like it's imminent, right? Like it seems like it's not far off. I think that,
I guess, would be 2024.
Yeah. I think that feels about right.
I guess we'll have to wait and see with that one. I think for me though, more surprising was FromSoft with Armored
Core.
Armored Core 6. Like,
Armored Core was
really?
leaked a few months ago, and there was it was leaked as part of a survey that went out to certain people, but someone just got it in their inbox, I think, and they hadn't actually signed anything or anything like that. So they were just like, "Oh yeah, I got this Armored Core survey with his screenshots of Armored Core and stuff like that a few months ago." So we knew that was coming at some point. We knew that their next game was going to be a new Armored Core. But seeing it was great. I think for me the biggest actual surprise was Hades 2. Absolutely no idea that.
Yeah, that was a huge surprise.
Damn, you know what, guys? I'm trying to get the footage for these games up quick enough, and you just keep switching. So we're just gonna keep talking. Right. Yeah, Hades 2 was a big surprise.
Yeah. For me, it was the first one I saw when I woke up, and as a big Hades guy, I was pretty stoked to see it. To see that it was coming. It's coming next year in early access, of course. But yeah, it happened.
It's an interesting one too, because like it feels very soon, right? Like Hades. I mean, I know at this point it came out 2 years ago, but like the fact that they're already ready to start showing people off, even the early access version of a successor, just 2 years later, when the game only just came to PlayStation like a few months ago, right?
I think it was last year, end of last year. I think,
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
it
a
was
year
like the full 1.0 and all console ports was like last year, I think, because I
thought it came to PlayStation
year,
later,
right?
though. I thought it was PC and then it came to Xbox, Switch, and then PlayStation.
Yeah,
I might. Who knows? Either way, it's still a new-ish game, right? For a lot of people. So it's interesting to see them be so quick with this next one, let alone the fact that they don't usually do sequels. This is their first proper sequel.
Yeah, they do. They pretty much do one and done games.
Supergiant is their name.
Supergiant, yes, yeah. Bastion, Transistor, Pyre, which I haven't played that one, and then Hades. The question was what were they going to do next, and I think people were maybe expecting that because of the way that Hades was produced and because of the way that it was released in early access, and and also the way that a lot of these roguelike games kind of go, maybe there'd be more content for it. And I have been sort of secretly hoping that maybe they'll do just something, but it very much seemed like 1.0 was it. I've just got the dates here. So Switch, Windows, and Mac was all September 2020. And then
Was
PS5.
that early access or 1.0?
No, that was 1.0. Then PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S was August 2021. So there was almost a year
So it
between.
was like a kind of a staggered release.
Yeah.
It was console exclusive to Switch for a year.
Yeah. Which is but I'm really glad this is happening, and I'm glad that it seems like they're not just doing, it's not Zagreus again. He's not trying to get out again. That story is concluded, and this is like a new story.
Yeah.
And it's featuring Zagreus' sister.
Character.
Yeah, a whole new character. You play as Zagreus' sister. Instead of Zeus, you are sort of trying to kill or I guess fight and beat Zeus's dad, the Titan Kronos. Seems to be more sort of they're leading into a lot of witchcraft with this one. The main character is a bit of a spellcaster. I think you can mix up your stuff with some magic. It seems like they're adding a lot of cool new stuff, and I'm very excited. I think I'm torn between buying it in early access and playing the drip feed content as it comes out, or waiting for 1.0 like I did with Hades and just doing it all in one go.
No way. I'm buying this one in early access. I missed out on doing that with Hades because I wasn't a PC player. I wasn't getting on the Epic Game Store or anything like that. I'm really hoping the early access comes to Steam. They haven't announced that it's coming to the Epic Game Store this time around, so
it's
really
coming to both.
My fingers crossed.
They've announced it's coming to both. They also it was on. I'm pretty sure it was on Steam early access as well. So the first game was, sorry, they're both on Steam. I'm pretty sure.
No, Hades was an Epic Games Store joint for a very long time, I believe.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I think definitely a big surprise from that one, right? Like I think no matter how you slice it, it was very surprising to see that at this show. Because like I wouldn't have expected a new game from them so quickly, let alone a sequel, right? Since they don't have that history. So yeah, I think those are probably among the most surprising. We also asked over on our YouTube channel using our community tab, what was everyone's favorite announcement from the Game Awards, and we picked a couple of the highlights, and it was pretty evenly spread, but the winner was actually Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which was another real highlight, I think, for me. I loved the original game, Fallen Order, and I'm very interested in seeing kind of where the story goes from here, and it is not what I was expecting in a sequel, because it, I feel like the last game ended in such a natural place, and it was like, okay, like we know, and I won't say what that is in case you haven't played it yet. I don't want to spoil it for people. But it felt like it was like, okay, I definitely know what the next game's going to be about, right? Like these are going to be the characters around me. This is what we're going to be doing. Our goal's going to be this. And this game seems to take place with a long enough time gap, and there's implications that like a lot of time has passed and the group that you used to be a part of is not really together anymore. And so there's like a lot of questions about where we left off and what the goals of the squad were and the ways in which that, I guess, those missions fell apart, right? Because Cal really seems like he's been through some shit since we last saw him.
For a bit, it took a while.
Yeah, a couple scars, couple, a little bit of facial hair.
I'm really excited to try out this fourth lightsaber style that they showed off in the teaser trailer, the Claymore.
Mm-hmm.
The extra long two-handed lightsaber, which I don't think we've ever really seen in Star Wars, like a a heavy, we've seen
Yeah.
Kylo Ren's lightsaber with the
like the side blades.
yeah, whatever you call them. But this one is, it's specifically you have to hold it in two hands. He's almost holding it low and dragging it along the floor almost, and doing like big sweeping uppercut motions and things like that. Which on top of we've already seen that there's definitely the dual two lightsabers are back, the dual-ended lightsabers are back, and single lightsaber combat. So to have like an extra gameplay style, I'm interested in seeing not only how that works for combat, but whether that's the kind of thing that they introduce as a new, the way that all of the force powers are not only used in combat, but in classic sort of Metroidvania style, you can, I don't know, pull a vine towards you or slow down time to run through things. How it's having like a huge, heavy weapon maybe you could be used to, I don't know, break certain blocks or whatever. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing how they fold that into everything. Yeah, really looking forward to this one. This is definitely going to be a PC purchase for me. It's just a shame that I don't think it's going to work on the Steam Deck very well because of EA. So
yeah, I'll be playing.
So we'll see.
I'll be playing it on.
Well,
Xbox.
we just spoke about that over on the Steam Deck podcast this week. It seems like they may be fixing that in Proton. So fingers crossed, Max.
EA have 3 months to mess it up, Steve.
So, jumping into a couple of the other announcements, we also got a look at Dead Cells Return to Castlevania, which is a bit of DLC to Dead Cells, which was a Game Awards winner previously, and came back to show off some new DLC, which also marks the first original piece of Castlevania content in Max, you're the Metroidvania boy. I can't even think of what the last one was.
I feel like it was either Lords of Shadows 2 or the Lords of Shadows side-scroller HD remaster on Steam, but I don't know what year that came out. Lords of Shadows Something of Fate.
I feel like the
Echoes
last
of
original
Fate?
was on like the DS, right? The last game that wasn't a port.
No. Lords of Shadows was Xbox 360 era. If we're
Okay.
talking 2D, specifically 2D, then yeah, probably Order of Ecclesia on the DS. But then they did two Xbox 360 sort of Lords of the Fallen 2 or Lords of the Shadows, something like that. And they did a side-scrolling version of that for the 3DS that then got ported to Steam in like 2012, I want to say. Let me Google this. Castlevania Lord of Shadows.
While you find that,
Mirror of Fate. It was 2013 on the 3DS, and it came to Steam in 2014. But yeah, it's been it's been eight or 9 years, right?
almost a decade, right? Which is crazy.
Wow, that's nothing. 15 years for a new Metroid. Like, come on.
Don't do this to me now, Steve. It's still so raw after last night. This looks cool. This looks like, I'm glad Dead Cells seems to be a great, almost like a platform for other indie games. They've had a lot of they had like a Hollow Knight one. I'm sure they've probably had Shovel Knight in there. Shovel Knight's been in everything, but they just keep doing DLCs that are like, they take elements of other indie games and just put them in their game, and it's like almost like the Super Smash Bros. Everyone is here kind of thing. Which I kind of thought Dead Cells was done. I thought that was going to be it for Dead Cells, and that the content we had was going to be it.
I figured we'd get a Dead Cells 2 maybe, but yeah.
Yeah. And I never played it. I never played any of the DLC. I beat the main game and was like, that was great, and just never went back to it. But this might be the one to pull me in, unless I have to beat it again to be able to play it. Then maybe I'll just watch it. But the music was great. Seeing Alucard and Richter was great. Seeing you be able to unlock character skins for those two, and also people like Marie, I believe, was one, and you'd be able to play Dracula himself as well. So yeah, interested to see how that comes out. I hope one of the bosses is the sort of the classic death boss fight that you do in so many Castlevania games.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting to see this happen, and I know that there's been kind of rumblings of Konami actually putting games out again. So kind of cool. Cool to see the
Interesting
IP
that again we've got Konami giving their IP away to another developer to develop something rather
they don't
than
have
doing it
studios
in-house,
in-house
which is
anymore, right?
what they did with Silent Hill. We've got 3 Silent Hill games coming from other studios and not from Konami themselves.
This is what we want. We want the sort of the Nintendo teaming up with the Curse of a Necrodancer team. We want that, but for Konami games. Bring Castlevania back with the team of indie developers who will be great at making it.
I mean, better than
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wouldn't mind Konami just selling the IP to someone who will take care of it and
Oh, but I think there's still value in it
develop
they want to
games.
keep. Just
yeah.
let other people have a go at it, like they have for Silent Hill.
Mm-hmm. Hey, as long as they're not
Yeah.
just sitting on it, you know.
Exactly.
So we're jumping around a little bit. I think it makes sense to talk about this one next because it also seems to be a game in a similar vein. This was on Max's list, Earthblade, which is the next
Hell yeah.
game from the team behind Celeste. Is it? I didn't catch that they had changed the name of the studio.
Yeah, it's extremely okay now. That's
Okay.
It was a
what they're
little
called.
while ago they did. Not that long ago, but it wasn't too long ago they did that. I've just said three completely different things. Yeah, I think they mentioned it, but it wasn't like a whole like, oh, we're rebranding. Like when Thunderfall came out and they sort of folded a bunch of companies together. This was just sort of a name change. This game looks great. They announced it, I want to say much earlier this year, maybe late last year, originally with like a logo. And yeah, finally seeing it in action, I was like just looking at it like, yeah, this is exactly like something I want to play.
Yeah.
You've still got Lena Raine's fantastic
Soundtrack.
soundtrack, that you can sort of hear the sort of familiar sounds in it, which is going to be great. The art looks fantastic. It's nice to see them stick to pixel art, but maybe this is a bit more detailed. And they've also coined a fantastic new term, which I've completely forgotten.
You tweeted about it. Go look for
I
it.
did tweet about
Go look
it.
for it.
Yeah. Go on, you do some talking while
Yeah,
I have some searching.
I hadn't heard about this. I didn't remember them making the announcement earlier this year. So this one came as a nice surprise for me. A little disappointed that it seems to be more of a Metroidvania than a traditional platformer. Considering that's more my
Oh,
jam.
and you're hooked on them now, aren't you? After Metroid Dread, so you gotta get in on it.
I'm open to them now. So like I'll give this one a go. I'm a big fan of
Exploration is the term you should be looking for. There, you're not hooked on Metroidvanias. You're hooked on Exploration, which is a fantastic name. I did think when I was watching the trailer that while it took me a little while to go, what is this? Is this going to be seamless? Is this going to be more of a sort of a classic sort of platforming game? And it does look like when it sort of scrolls through the world. I'm watching the trailer now. I'm sure it's probably on the screen as well. There are elements of it that do look like there are some complicated platforming. There's looks like there might be some swinging, some climbing up walls and stuff, very similar to Celeste. It's just now they've added combat, and instead of moving from room to room as an individual level in itself, it seems like it's going to be more seamless. However, I could see it being each room still being its own little square that you move around. It's just they are connected and branched together in a way that they are connected. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing what happens with this one. It's a shame it's so far away, 2024, but you can't rush good things.
Can't rush perfection, right? Yeah,
exactly.
They're one of those teams where like take your time, right? Like whatever you have to sell is I'm buying. So
yeah,
take your time, make a masterpiece, and we'll show up and celebrate it when it's ready.
Have my shekels.
Speaking of new and like kind of departing IP from teams that I really like, Banisher's Ghosts of Eden is a new action game from Don't Nod, the team behind such classics as Life is Strange and what's the other one that we like, Steve? Tell Me Why. So yeah,
I didn't know that they did Tell Me Why and Life is Strange. I thought Life is Strange was by another studio. Or no, they originally did Life is Strange.
They're the creators of
someone
Life
else
is
does it.
Strange. They
I
also did
got
Life
it.
is
I got
Strange
it.
too. Deck
Yeah.
9, now the company that heralds
Yeah,
Life is
I
Strange.
saw this and I saw Don't Nod and I was like, oh, okay. I like their games. It's going to be one of those choosy games. And I was like,
Nope.
is it going to
different.
be one of those choosy games?
And it's-
as it was going, I was like, no, it's definitely not one of those choosy games.
And it's interesting, not their first game like this. The big game that they had done right before Life is Strange was an action adventure game. I can't remember the name of it because I've not played it. But yeah, so it's not a complete departure, but certainly a departure for what they're known best for and what they've done recently. So pretty interesting, but it looks good. I was intrigued by the kind of the setup of the premise, right? It's like this guy is like well, you don't even really, I guess, even know this part, right? It's this couple that's talking to this woman about like ghost hunting, and then it's like slowly revealed that like the wife is actually a ghost, and
It's got twisted by this. I was just watching a trailer starting because I missed this one, and when the hand disappeared from his. I was like, she's a ghost.
Yeah.
It got me.
It got me last night. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm into this. Like, this is a cool premise.
Yeah, I can't believe I missed this. This looks great.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Don't Nod, right? Like, that not every single thing they do is a absolute banger, but like, they've got a track record of delivering very good, unique, cool narratives. And what we saw of the combat, I thought looked pretty sharp.
Oh yeah, like, well, let's see if the rest of it comes out. But there's a clip right at the end where you see him walk around and then he sort of runs and jumps with the sword, and that looks very fluid.
It's very witchery to me at the end. That little bit.
It
it's
reminds me
like,
of that kind of game. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets the two things out in one go. He's got the sword and the torch at the same time.
Looks like
But
he has like
really
a
cool.
rifle on his back too. So it's like that kind of like.
And I imagine you use different weapons for different enemies, like you do in The Witcher with like the silver sword and the normal sword kind of thing.
Yeah, this looks good. I'm real excited about this. And this is also, they recently went. I mean, they've always been independent, but they recently got that investment from Tencent so that they could start self-publishing projects. So I believe this is their first.
No, this one's Focus is publishing it.
Oh, Focus is with this one? Okay.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
one thing I will say, and it also seems to be a trend across a lot of these games, is they're all current gen only. It seems like we're getting rid of the last gen.
Oh, is it finally
This one's only coming to this one's only coming at the end of 2023 to PS5 and Xbox Series consoles, as well as PC. Had the same thing with a bunch of games as well, like Death Stranding 2, for example. Like that was very clearly a PS5 only game, and it was nice to see the next generation of the Decima engine, and also they're using Epic Games' meta-human component, and I was surprised that was able to be used outside of Unreal Engine, which is what they're using to create and map all of the people and the humans within Death Stranding 2, which Kojima was very clear on Twitter that that's a working title. It may not be called Death Stranding 2. I can't imagine why they wouldn't call it that. I was actually impressed.
It'll be called
with how
Life
this game
Stranding.
Yeah, I was impressed with how this game looked. Obviously, Kojima on stage with his buddy Jeff again. They do a podcast together. I would have been very surprised if Kojima wasn't there announcing a game at one of Jeff's shows. But it was nice to see.
It's just real quick. I think it's very interesting. I guess it's just a sign of respect, right? But like he always calls him Mr. Kojima, and it's very like they've been like friendly for like years and years. Did he calls him that in private? Like,
no, he called him Hideo later on. Like he was like when he was talking to Animal, he was like, "Oh, we'll have to talk to Hideo later in the after."
Okay.
That wasn't to his face though, was it?
That's true. Whenever he's there, he's like Mr. Kojima, of course.
Oh,
I have to
Mr.
show
Kojima,
deference to the great one. This was a good trailer, though. I'll tell you that. I think was pretty vocal about my dislike of Death Stranding's marketing campaign and how much of the game we had to see before it came out and how much of it felt very incomprehensible. Whereas this was like there was a clear narrative, right? And I'm actually gonna take the footage off the screen.
The trailer was
edited
by. The trailer was directed and edited by Kojima himself. It said at the end, so I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this felt more compelling to me than the marketing for the original one did. Not to say
me too, because
I'm gonna go out of my way to play
I think
it,
this story setup to me was like absolutely wild. Like we just kill a baby within a trailer, and it's like, okay, like. Wow, that was like impactful, and then like it's what you do with your life after that, right? Like she failed to protect the baby, and like she had to go back to Sam from the first game. Like it's interesting. I'm interested to see where this one goes. I actually may end up picking up Death Stranding because I'm interested to see how this game plays. No idea when it's coming. I don't think. Just that it's in development.
We're going to be seeing this for years.
Yes,
we're going to be seeing cryptic clips and posters and babies and celebrities and people we know vaguely from the internet for years. I'm all for it. Why not?
Like how Troy Baker was like a weird guitar man at the end. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Sure.
This is really going to make our future event guesses a little bit easier. Just Death Stranding 2, I win. I got there first, so point for me.
We will see Death Stranding 5 times this year before we get a release date. But yeah, it's cool, right? I know that there's a lot of people that are big fans of the franchise, whether, it was a bit divisive, but for the people that really liked it, they liked it a lot. And it's certainly unique. So pretty cool to see, Hideo's going to get another crack at it.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe I'll try Death Stranding along with you, Steve.
Yeah, I think maybe it's worth us checking it out. It seems like a big hole in
Maybe we do a game club.
gaming history.
Maybe we do a game
Yeah, I
club.
think maybe we should at some point.
That'd be a good way to do it, Also worth probably pointing out that he did also confirm he's working on another project, which we knew that there was another one in development, but he did talk.
He's already announced that he's working on one with Xbox. Like, he was at an Xbox event and confirmed this.
Correct.
Like, is this news?
No. Yeah. He also did say that he rewrote Death Stranding 2's script following the pandemic because he didn't want to predict the future again. So, which I thought I got a kick out of. So moving right along, this was one that got me a point in our predictions, so I was very happy about it for 2 reasons. But Horizon Forbidden West has its last piece of DLC coming out called Burning Shores, which takes place in Los Angeles. And we got to look at
after thousands of years, a Hollywood sign made out of just wood, still intact somehow. I don't know how.
How else are you going to know, but it's in Hollywood?
Wood does last a pretty long time.
Yeah, that long.
Yeah, it's pretty. I said that while I was watching it. I was like, "Oh, it lasted all this time just to get knocked down." Like, shouldn't even take a picture of it.
This is PS5 only, right?
No, this is
No,
PS5.
it'll be on PS4.
Oh, misread that then. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's DLC for the existing game, so it's bound to come.
Yeah, I don't know why I saw
both.
PS5 only and I was confused. I'm gonna read up on this while you guys do some
It does
talking.
only say PS5 in the trailer, but I doubt
Horizon
that
Forbidden
that's...
West Burning Shores is coming to PlayStation 5 consoles on 19th of April 2023. So says the Guerrilla Games blog. If I go to the blog.playstation.com, Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores is coming to PlayStation 5 consoles on April 19th, 2023. Huge challenge that Aloy must overcome by using all of our skills and abilities. To achieve this grand vision, technically and creatively, we've made the difficult decision to focus all of our efforts on making an incredible experience exclusively on PlayStation 5.
What?
Wow.
That's crazy! Oh my god! Wow.
I'd be so pissed off if I
Wow.
on PS4.
Wow. I mean, whatever. You got
a free upgrade on this one anyway.
Yeah, you do.
I also love the fact that they had to like get permission to use the Hollywood sign. Hollywood is the trademark and intellectual property of Hollywood Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
They had to pay to use that sign.
Well, no, they had to get it probably permission.
I bet they had to pay.
Maybe.
I bet they did.
Maybe. But yeah, crazy. And I'm very excited for it. Yeah, I'm stoked.
That's wild.
Happy to get a whole new map.
It was PS5 only.
Because that's
I
the
can't
other
believe
thing.
I told you that. I can't believe that came from me.
I'm
The person
surprised.
who doesn't care about Horizon.
I didn't even know.
Good scoop.
Yeah, look at you, buddy. It's interesting because Frozen Wilds was good, but it's not huge. It's a sizable DLC, but it's a new section of the existing map, not a whole new area. So I get the impression that this is maybe a bit larger in scope and that it is more akin to like a Miles Morales or like the Spider-Man DLC or something like that, where it's like more of like a 0.5 campaign rather than just a couple extra hours of content. It being in a whole new city,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how they go. What's next? Really, after the end of it, I'm just like, I didn't expect Aloy to just pop off to Hollywood. To be honest.
I mean,
I guess
the
I'll
end
find
of the well, we shouldn't talk about the end of the game. It only came out this year. But I think it makes sense in the context of where we leave things. And I'll leave it at that. Okay, so let's see. Where do you want to go next? We got a couple more to talk about here. We'll talk
Extreme
about
Rumble seems good, right?
what's that?
Or you want to talk about? Let's talk about the other PlayStation games that are coming to PC. We've like Returnal's finally coming to PC, even though we've known about this because of the leak earlier this year. It showed up on the Steam database of like
Yeah, and it
feels
was
like
in
forever ago.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was in the old Nvidia leak as well, wasn't it? The Nvidia GeForce leak as well.
The thing I thought was interesting is that we got the news that both Returnal and Last of Us Part 1 are coming to PC, and it's very interesting that Last of Us is seemingly going to come to PC before Returnal, because Returnal it just said 2023, whereas Last of Us is March 3rd, timed right around when the show's going to be coming out, which makes sense, but it's just interesting because not only is that's the quickest turnaround of any game so far, right? This is the first, because this will be, the game came out in
6 months, right?
Yeah.
When did it come out? September?
Like September, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago.
Well, when was Uncharted? When did the Uncharted collection come out? Was that this year?
Yeah, that came out this year as well.
So I think that could have only been about 6 months as well. So maybe they're just doing 6 months.
No, it came to that. Well, that's I mean, it depends if you count that collection, because that collection's really just like
it's ports of old games. Like it's not like a new game, you know. So it's like,
whereas this is like a remake. Yeah,
you're like literally correct in that, in terms of timeline wise, but like I feel like that's a bit of it's like a bit of a caveat, because it's like technically those games came out like how many years ago, right? This is like, Last of Us Part 1 was a brand new product less than 3 months ago, and now it's already about to come to PC. So this is the most accelerated timeline we've ever seen for and it's also the first PS5 exclusive that's coming to PC, which is insane.
Do you think we're getting gonna get the PS5 like remake of The Last of Us Part 2 next year?
I don't know.
I imagine that they're gonna want to bring that to PC and have it in the same engine at some point.
Isn't it in the same engine? Isn't The Last of Us Part 1 made in The Last of Us Part 2's engine?
Yeah, I guess so. I would imagine they made some updates and upgrades though. If it's PS5 only, they're probably going to want to backport those to The Last of Us. I can only imagine they want to sell a box set of The Last of Us and you buy it.
I think they'll do that. I just don't think it'll be significantly different. It might like have like some new.
It'll be a free update, I think, if anything, or like a £10.
I do not think it'll be a free update. I think they're done with free updates from PS4 games.
You think? That's what it's possible, yeah.
I think you're right in general, but I just think Last of Us Part 2 is like, it has an update that makes it run like a PS5 game already.
It does, but at the moment there is no boxed copy of The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2 that has the PS5 logo on it. You can only get it with the PS4 logo on it.
Yeah, and I don't think
that they're going to want that.
I think that what they'll probably do, though, is sell The Last of Us Part 1 and 2 boxed collection, and that'll be the way to get the PS5 version, in the same way that you can't buy a boxed copy of Spider-Man Remastered, but they made a PS5 version of that game. You know what I mean? I think it would be more akin to that, where it's like a paid upgrade, or it's part of a collection, and it's like, oh, it's a boxed copy and it's $100 or it's $80 or whatever, and it's both games,
Yeah, I was happy to see this coming. I've been waiting to play this one. I think I probably am going to play it on Steam Deck. I've played through The Last of Us anyway. I know the story, but being able to play that portably will be really cool for the first time. Looking forward to playing The Last of Us. It's coming out around a time where there's a lot of other games though, so it probably won't be on launch.
Yeah, March is heavy.
Yeah,
Resident Evil 4,
really heavy.
Star Wars, Jedi.
Dude,
Survivor.
all next year is heavy. Like it's a problem.
I know.
Yeah, I've got Diablo 4 in June. Like that's insane. Like, that's coming, and then there's Baldur's Gate 3 in August. It's like, well, there's something for me to play forever.
You immediately skipped over May with Legend of Zelda, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, I mean, what Legend of Zelda, whatever it's called, is coming out in May, and I'm really looking forward to playing that one.
Steve, I also want to point something out. a theory of yours has come to roost for now.
Yeah.
On the Steam page for The Last of Us Part 1, it is a $60 game.
Yeah, it's cheaper. I don't think they're going to charge the same price.
No, they won't. No, they've already
Which makes
well.
no sense that they can then justify $70 on the platform that they own 100%
I
of.
think
and
it's
get all of
honestly
the profit.
I think it's honestly more strange that because I doubt that's a choice, right? Like, is that a Valve not letting them sell games at $70?
No, like you can go and buy Final Fantasy VII Remake?
That's 70.
That costs 70.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
You can Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate is $69.99. You can charge whatever the hell you want.
That's wild. Like, why? Why make that decision?
Whereas the Last of Us Part 1 is $49.99 in the UK. Whereas it costs $69.99 on PlayStation. It's £20 cheaper.
It's
You're going to play it anywhere, then play it there, right?
Yeah, I would save myself 20 quid. I mean, they could say that it's like it's cheaper because it's, you know, a port to a PC. It came out. It's not a day and date game. But if you've bought a digital only version of the PlayStation, you can only buy it from Sony, and they will charge you full price for that game.
They don't have a physical version to have to be parity to have the price parity with. Remember on the Switch when they started bringing a bunch of old indie games over, like Cave Story, and I can't remember the company that was doing them, but there was a rule that the digital and physical editions had to be the same price. So they would charge $40 for the digital version of like The Binding of Isaac and Cave Story Plus, which are, you know, $10 games, £10 games on Steam, very often cheaper, £15 maybe. But because of that ruling, and because they were releasing physical versions, that was sort of their thing, was, oh, we're going to do a physical game for each one. Digital gamers had to sort of spend $40 on it, and that was frustrating. And it could be the same with PlayStation, where because $70 is the price for them, whether you're, you know, they don't want to make the digital one $60, no one's going to go out and buy the physical edition.
Yeah.
So it could just be because there is no a physical edition of this.
I mean, maybe,
this PC
but
version.
I can buy a physical version of the game for $49.99 because it's on sale at the moment, or I can buy it from Sony for $69.99. Like, it makes no sense as to why they continue to charge that when they're not charging it for the PC people. And take into consideration as well, Max, that they own the PlayStation platform. They make 100% of the profit from the digital version that they sell.
That's the thing is,
they have to pay Steam 30%.
What doesn't make sense to me is that it's not $70 on PC, not that it costs $70 on PlayStation.
Yeah, that's
right?
what
Like,
doesn't make sense.
$70 is what video games
yeah.
cost now, right? And like, I've been banging this drum since the generation changed. Everybody wants to point and call Sony the bad guy because they did it first, sure, but Xbox just announced they're doing the same thing, right? As of next year.
But this inconsistent pricing doesn't make sense, and it makes you as a PlayStation customer feel cheated.
Yeah, you're paying a tax to play it on their platform, which doesn't make sense. It should be the opposite.
You just invested 500 quid on their console,
right?
Yeah,
yeah. It's not clear why they're making that decision. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Returnal, if that's the same price or not. I bet it will be, but.
Yeah, I bet it will be. And that's an older game as well. And that one's also on PlayStation Plus, so it's less of an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is a game you currently will still be paying. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have a price cut. Maybe they give it a price cut around that time. That would be a different conversation too, but I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. But I mean, this again is the reason why I cannot encourage anyone to buy a digital only console at the moment. I can buy Returnal for $31.99 on disc, or it's $69.99 from PlayStation Store. It's absolute nonsense. And I know this doesn't happen in all markets. I know I've had this conversation with you a million times.
Yeah, it's unique to your market.
This is the reason I buy physical games in the UK, is because they are always cheaper. Even at launch, they are always cheaper. I am yet to pay £70 for a game yet.
Yeah, and that's like just literally not an option for me in the States, right? So, like, of course, I'm going to buy digital because it's more convenient.
Yeah. You hop on Shop 2, you hop on the game collection, you hop on Curry's the day of launch, and it's always going to be, you know, I drove to my local Curry's on the day God of War Ragnarok launched because I was like, I'm not going to get it, can't afford it, and I was like, oh well, I probably should. So I rushed down and got it for £9 cheaper than it would have been if I got it digitally. So I saved myself £9 for with a 5-minute drive. So yeah, that was good. However, I think £31 for Returnal, you are having a good time there with that £31 because Returnal is still the best PlayStation 5 exclusive game for me. Still a game that you should play. It's if you like roguelike games, it's like the only. I'm going to get some comments here. The only AAA roguelike game.
Sure, I think that's fair to say.
What are you on about? That's Vampire Survivors. Have you seen those graphics? Phenomenal.
I think it's the. Oh, never mind.
Oh, what?
I'll say
No?
you think it's the best PS5 exclusive, but then I'm like, there's not that many games on that list, so that's okay.
Yeah, you've got.
There's
part
only
one,
two. There's only two others. It's
Last of Us Part 1, not anymore. Demon Souls. I like
Ratchet.
Demon Souls, but Returnal's better. And Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, which I thought was bang average. So yes, Returnal. I think I think everyone should give this game a go. And again, it's another one that's going to be. I waited probably 5 or 6 months. I think I got it around Christmas last year because I wanted it to not be $70, and it took until probably around Black Friday, I guess, that I picked it up for 40 quid, which is a £30 saving. Whereas I think on the Steam, it's probably only going to be about like 60 quid at most, and then that will go on sale fairly quickly as well.
Within like a
Easier
day.
to get.
You
Yeah,
can get it for a nickel. So let's keep the conversation rolling. We got a couple more things to talk about, and we still got to get through predictions here. So next up is we got to look at the one and only piece of DLC coming to a major story DLC coming to Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, which is featuring none other than Idris Elba in a starring role. I said this before to you, Steve, the last time we talked about Cyberpunk. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this DLC to completion, even though I only kind of like Cyberpunk. What's that?
Yeah, I know, but it's Idris Elba, so like, how can you not play it? Because Idris Elba is just wonderful.
Yeah, and it's just
he should have been the next James Bond.
I agree with that. I think most intellectuals do. I feel like I have to play it because and I'll say this, right? As much as I shit on Cyberpunk, I liked it enough to finish it. So it's obviously, there's a decent game in there somewhere. But I feel like for this, I have to play it so that I can continue to talk shit about Cyberpunk. Like I have to.
You let me know.
I gotta put my time in.
I kind of want to know. Maybe they fixed it with the next.
I'm
gen
excited.
patch
Maybe it's good now. Maybe it's
Yeah,
I played it at launch on Series X when it was still, buggy.
I think again, this is one of those only coming to next gen. Well, next gen, current gen. Says coming 2023 to PS5 and Xbox Series X/S.
That definitely makes sense though, right? Like it,
Yeah.
it didn't run on the last gen hardware, so
had those games. Yeah,
I'm sure they cut their losses on that one.
Yeah, I still feel awful for anyone that bought it on those systems, and that maybe it's like, I'm really excited for this.
It was designed for those
expansion.
systems. That's what's so mental for it. They delayed it until after the next gen consoles were released. Previously, it had a release date before those consoles existed.
Yeah, it's
Can you
very.
imagine? Can you imagine? Ugh, insane.
Well, if
It's
that's released
dreadful.
in that state, you mean? Like if that had just released on the pre.
Yeah.
previous
If it was
That was the
there
only
no
way to play it on console, right?
Yeah.
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 And then it gets
yeah,
taken
that'd
off
be
the
like, what the
PlayStation
hell?
Store.
Yeah. You know
Yeah,
what? You know how IO are working on that James Bond game?
Mhm.
I know Idris is not going to be doing the movies. Get him in for that. I'd love to play a game with Idris Elba as James Bond, where I get to go and do like Hitman levels.
We don't got
Yeah,
time for you to
cool.
just wish list pitch games right now. Save it for
There you
next
go. I'm
week.
wish listing that.
Save it for next week, buddy. All right, so let's talk about this one, Crash Team Rumble. This is a game with a very, very interesting history because this is a game that it was originally. This is a game that's been in development and got stopped and then got rebooted. It was originally going to be called Wumpa Cup or something like that. And it's
Wumpa League.
Wumpa
Now
League.
that-
It's a thing people have been
that's
arguing
interesting.
about on Twitter for 2 years.
A QA tester said on Reddit today that it was never called Wumpa League, and originally this was a part of. Now this is obviously I don't think there's any genuine proof to this, But they said that it was never actually called Wumper League. It was originally going to be a bit like a DLC for this game that was announced. DLC for Crash 4. Crash 4 didn't do very well enough for them, not as much as they would have thought, so they cancelled it. And then it got revived as this. And all you people have been arguing over a game called Wumper League that has, in theory, never really existed in proper form. You know, the stuff that Liam's found has sort of been, like you say, like stuff that's come up and cancelled and stuff. But this game has never been called Wumper League. It is just a bit of what was DLC that has now been expanded into more of a main game. But yeah, that's a little bit of
a little bit of context there. So this one, it's a 4v4 team-based online multiplayer game, and it is made by Toys for Bob.
Wow,
So-
Call of Duty Studio, Toys for Bob. They're making a game
guess
like this. Like,
I guess
what
they're
the hell?
back.
Makes
Yeah, I don't
no
know.
sense.
I guess they're back, which is great.
Is
Well, I mean,
the
that could
Bob
also
from
just
Toys
lead-
for Bob, Bobby Kotick? I've always wondered that.
No,
Oh
I'm
my
pretty sure
God. I
Toys for
hope
Bob
not.
were around before EA, right? Bloody hell. I wonder if it's Toys for Bob. It's like a legacy thing, and that because it is like they probably maybe brought some people back to expand on what was already being worked on. But then again, I guess you would also just say you scrapped it and started from fresh if you were doing that. So ignore me.
Because they didn't get rid of Toys for Bob. They just made them a support studio, right? It's not like Vicarious Visions, which they gutted and made a Blizzard studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
They apparently also worked on Overwatch as well.
Who
Uh-oh.
did Toys for Bob or
Toys for Bob, according to their website, they have worked on Crash Bandicoot, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Spyro, Skylanders, and Tony Hawk.
Okay.
Oh, well, that explains why Overwatch is the way it is, because they've been working on Crash Wumper
Yeah.
Crash.
They needed Toys for Bob to actually make it good, and they're like too busy making this game.
What is this game called? Crash.
Crash Team Rumble.
Crash
So
Team
CTR now has a totally different meaning, so it's not confusing at all.
Yeah,
So
to
do you mean
have
Crash
just a
Team Racing or
second
Crash
game
Team
with the
Rumble?
same initials. It's cool. It's cool to I guess make that a thing, like Crash Team whatever, right? But they probably could have picked another word. Especially because there was a game called Crash Bash. You could have called it Crash Team Bash.
That was it. Thank you, Crash Bash. I was just trying to think, like, what was the one that I remember really enjoying, and then when I played it again, I was like, this is awful. And it was Crash Bash.
That was PS2, right?
PS1, I'm pretty sure.
Is it? I feel like that was after.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe they
£5.
should have just called it
£5.
the Super Crash Bros. That would have been a good name as
That
well.
is a good one. £5 that it was on
£5. Fine.
You're gonna have to
Let's
send
wait
him
for the
a note with
PlayStation.
Queen on.
Fun. Made myself £5.
There you go.
Pete, you're gonna have to go to the foreign exchange office just to get 5 British pounds.
Hey, you know what, Max?
this
You come collect it. You come collect it, buddy.
Steve, I have Revolut for this specific purpose. I make a lot of bets cross the borders.
No, I really just want to see Pete next week with like British money in his hands, and he's like, "What is this weird stuff? It's plastic, it's all different sizes. This is just goofy it's nonsense. Like, what are
Fake
you
money.
doing over there?"
Why are they not all one color, and why do they not look all identical except for the number on them? I'm so confused.
All right, so keeping it rolling, we also got a look at Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and what was the rest of it? And the Lost Demon, which is a new game in the Bayonetta franchise in a totally different genre. It's like a top-down, I don't know, like puzzle action type game.
Yeah, this reminds me a little bit of don't know why, but Monument Valley. The way that you're sort of like, I feel like you're sort of moving around, but the actual action is being done by other things. And in Monument Valley, it was there was like a totem, and there was things that like as you sort of moved around, that would also move around for you. I don't know if that makes sense to either of you, but that's just the vibe I was getting. It's the kind of thing I really wanted to see for Metroid back in the day, but
Or maybe a little bit like Captain Toad, where you have to move
I can
things
see
around.
that. Yeah.
There's
Or
like
even
there's
like,
like a
what was the-
monster that you summon for combat and stuff though. Like it's
Yeah.
like
I think that's Cheshire. It says control both Cheshire and Cereza to
Yeah.
solve puzzles.
It's like a demon that she partners up with or
Yeah.
whatever, and like this is like how she became Bayonetta, basically.
Yeah, Cheshire was her very first demon, possessing Cereza's stuffed toy. Players both Cereza and Cheshire and search through the treacherous forest to look for the power to save Cereza's mother. So
This looks like my jam, but it also is very strange that they chose Bayonetta as an IP to do it with. But I don't know if that's just
yeah,
that's
a little
just
bit.
me.
No,
I don't
I
know,
agree
like,
with you. It's very strange.
It is weird, but it's also like I guess it makes sense, right? Like, because this is like an IP with like a big established lore, and like I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, how did she become Bayonetta?" Right? Like,
Well, yeah, but like then to do like a storybook, themed,
Yeah, puzzle prequel.
quite, yeah, just odd. Because
Like
there's
you could
probably
have done that. You could have done anything. They could have done like a visual novel. They could have even done like a manga series or like an anime of how Bayonetta became Bayonetta.
they don't want to do that.
But
It's a game.
they
It's a
just
game. You want to make a game?
they opted to do this. But I guess Bayonetta's arguably Platinum's most valuable franchise at this point.
Probably, right?
probably,
Um,
yeah,
So it makes sense that they would want to, and it's a smaller title. It keeps Bayonetta fresh in people's memories. It's coming out in March, so
Which
it's
is
not far
wild. They
away.
just put out 3 after how long? Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's
Give
very
it a bit of
interesting.
room, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like,
Now-
or I don't know. Like, this feels like a thing you could have put out while we were waiting for Bayonetta 3, and like,
Mm.
It does. It also feels like this is the first in a series, right? It's like Bayonetta Origins : and then Cereza and
Yeah.
the Lost Demon. I would imagine we're
Yeah.
probably going to get a few of these.
multiple stories of her as like a young girl,
Yeah.
and like this game probably won't end with her being Bayonetta. It'll be like the beginning, like it'll be the
she
journey.
first summons a demon, and then
Yeah.
I wonder if we're gonna, because Bayonetta stories generally have a little bit of sort of time travel and stuff in them, and Bayonetta has met Cereza in the past, a couple of times. So I wonder who voices, if adult Bayonetta is in it, who might voice that. What if it's narrated? What if Bayonetta's in it? Who's the voice for that?
I think it'll be probably someone
I don't
else.
think it was voiced. I don't think it was voice acted, was it? I
Well,
don't remember.
there could be. We haven't seen the full game, I guess, but there could be
Yeah.
a point, where we see an adult Bayonetta at some point, and if we do, could this be the cameo that Helena Taylor said
Quite
about
possibly, yeah.
when
quite
she said, "Oh,
possibly.
they offered me this, they offered me that, and then they finished on, oh well, if you're not going to do the full game, do a cameo for 4,000," and that's what the big complaint was. Could this be the cameo?
Maybe.
But maybe she was still under an NDA to be able to say, this is the game, and that's why she was chose to go for Bayonetta 3, because she was still sore about that. Who knows? But yeah, the first thing I thought about this game was, maybe this is what Helena Taylor was upset about.
Yeah, maybe. And then the other big thing that Nintendo had was another deeper dive on the Mario Brothers movie. I'm not going to show a clip of this because the last time we did, we got a copyright from them. So don't want to get this episode squashed. But yeah, I don't know, man. The more I see this movie, the more I think it might be pretty okay.
Oh yeah, I thought that looked amazing.
Got a lot of personality.
Fun to finally see Toad.
Chris Pratt's voice still a weak link. It still sticks out to me, but if that's the one thing,
Yeah, but I'm really hoping that he's kind of like in the back, right? And we just see that him getting. It seemed like he was being carted around the Mushroom Kingdom by Toad in the clip, and like he was struggling to keep up, and he was like jumping on these platforms and almost falling off, and like Toad was like, out of the way, we've got big business to kind of get on with, and no one knew who Mario was at this point. So I kind of getting a vibe that Mario's pretty new around here.
Oh yeah, this is his first trip to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah, but we'll talk more about that on Nintendo Noise, I'm sure.
Sure. So yeah, I think right now let's just if there's any other games you want to highlight, let's do it, and then we'll get on to the predictions. I think for me
I think we should jump to the predictions. Let's just do. We'll just talk about the results, and then maybe we can post the full spreadsheet on Twitter, because we're already over an hour here.
We can quickly get through them. Don't worry, Max. We'll quickly get through them.
Yeah.
I think for me, in terms of other announcements, Vampire Survivors on mobile was huge, as was Hellboy, the Web of Word. Like that game looks phenomenal.
great.
But Vampire Survivors coming to mobile and being free and like seemingly just not being riddled with toxic mobile stuff.
Really
It was
weird.
really nice.
Really weird. Like, why
I
are they
imagine
not
the
charging
DLC
anything?
is going to charge. Like they're probably charging an in-app purchase for the DLC
Yeah.
that's coming out next week, I think. I also like the look of Viewfinder, which was like it reminded me of Superliminal, and I remember seeing like a tech demo of someone that was working on a game like this, where you take photos and you can kind of position those photos in places and around the level, and then how you use that perspective you can kind of walk through. But I thought it was cool.
A quick one for Space Marine 2 as well while we're here.
Yeah. That's. Are you a Warhammer guy?
I didn't know you were a Warhammer guy. I did not know that.
Not massively. I really enjoyed Space Marine, and I used to like Dawn of War back in the day.
Cool.
I finished Space Marine for the first time this year, and I was like, yeah, solid third-person shooter, solid, basically Gears of War game, and this looks exactly like we're getting a Gears of War had stolen from 40K for so long that it was nice that 40K was like, no, we're having some of that back.
Now it's our turn.
It looks like to be doing. Yeah, it looks like they're doing a good job. So yeah, shouts out to that. Look forward to playing that.
Yeah, I just had a couple quick ones. Baldur's Gate 3 got a final release date. I know that's one that's been in early access if you're a PC player for a long time. But I've been waiting for the 1.0 because I didn't want to do the drip feed and I wanted to experience the game properly. What's that?
Especially considering Larian's last game, they ended up redoing it, and you got a different mode and a whole different way of playing the game, and you couldn't change the save. So I think waiting for the 1.0 on their games is probably a good shout.
So that was one where like I've seen footage of it quite a bit, and it definitely seems like it has taken a lot of cues from like the kind of now 2 generations ago RPGs that I'm such a fan of, like your Dragon Ages. I don't know, Dragon Age. I like that game a lot.
Dragon Ages, I think, is what you're looking for.
And the Dragon Ages of the world, yes. And it looks like it's got a real through line with those games. It's like very like role playing a character, making choices, having your stats influence how people interact with you, and all that kind of stuff. Like
I think it's the other way around. I think Dragon Age was inspired by Baldur's Gate and those Infinity Engine games from the early 90s, and we're finally getting another Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, like, but those games were not
30 years later.
Origins was influenced by those games, but this is like, I think this to me feels like the Tomb Raider to Uncharted to Tomb Raider reboot pipeline, where it's like it's a conversation now. Final Fantasy 16, got another trailer for that. I think that looks great. Very much looking forward to that one. One of my most anticipated games of next year. And then we got another look at Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. That's another thing. Which I am still kind of on the fence about. Obviously, I'm a fan of Rocksteady and the stuff they did with Arkham. But the thing that definitely caught my attention was that they did confirm this will be the final appearance of Kevin Conroy as Batman.
Yeah.
Who is my absolute favorite portrayal of the character. So, if for nothing else, I'll be playing it for that.
Yeah, this looks great.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into the predictions. So we had a couple predictions for the event itself, and then we had our predictions for the actual awards. Thank you. Yeah. It's Friday evening, and you can tell. So I'm going to do these in reverse, so that we'll end with Game of the Year. So we'll go through our predictions first. My last prediction was that a celebrity will show up and sell something that has nothing to do with video games, excluding musical guests. You didn't give me this point. I think this counts. We had the Glass Onion people, the Knives Out sequel. They showed up to present a thing. They had nothing to do with anything. I
don't think so. Like
I guess they did present an award. So
Steve, he won.
Wasn't like
he's still trying to claw
more. He's still trying to get more points. This is what he does. He's terrible.
Winners win, Max. Winners win.
I don't see that myself. Like I was thinking like The Rock last year, where it was like, and now we're gonna go over to The Rock for a quick like presentation or whatever, and then the middle of him drink? Just like he's just talking about an energy drink. It was absolutely
it wasn't
bizarre.
It wasn't that egregious. So fine. I won't take the point. That's fine. Max, we gave him a half point for this one, which I think is insane, but okay. He said someone makes a political statement about Elon Musk, and we're giving him half a point of that because of the kid who crashed the Game of the Year.
Counting
speech.
that.
Steve gave you a half point.
I think that's a political statement. It's not about Elon Musk, but I think it's a
We
political
don't know that yet. We don't have enough information about what happened.
At the time of scoring, it felt like a political statement.
That's
I
bullshit.
say we just close the discussion there, and we say I take that half point and I bank it.
You can take your half
exactly.
point. You're still in last place. And then
This is cool.
Steve also stole himself a half point by saying Phil Spencer will say something like bringing the industry together.
No,
even though
Phil Spencer and will say something like bringing the industry together. There's an and in there. Phil
that's
Spencer
not
was there.
how that fucking
Phil
works.
Spencer was there.
You know it.
Phil Spencer was there. He
but
was
you
on
said he was going to
camera.
say something.
I
Don't worry,
didn't.
Pete. I'm in the edit history.
He didn't say
He's such
something.
a cheater. He's such a cheater,
He didn't
Max.
say something.
And the thing that's
I'm in the edit-
embarrassing
I'm in
is
the
he
edit
goes out of
history.
his way to cheat and he still loses every
What are you on
time.
about?
I
Olaf
think
was
it's
on
more
my side in
embarrassing
the
to
last
try and-
episode.
Olaf said I
He
won.
said Olaf was on my side when he said, another Fortnite season. Yeah, exactly. Perfect prediction. It's going on the 2023 one. So
Okay.
wait.
It's more embarrassing to try and claw points when you've already won, Pete.
No,
Sorry.
it's
I agree.
just a winner.
Thank you.
Just a winner. And look, you guys, that's the thing, Steve. You're bringing in all these other Bush League competitors like Max to back you up so that y'all can try to take me down because you can't beat me. And you want to make me a heel? I'll be a heel. I won. Okay. All right.
Just
I
you
think we
wait.
should start
Just
scoring
you
this
wait.
like golf, and it's the lowest point that wins at this
No,
point.
absolutely not.
Agree.
Prediction
Sorry,
number
suddenly it matters again. Yes, you are right.
Prediction number 2 was I said that Joseph Fares would showcase a new game. He did not. Max said that we would get another Zelda trailer. We did not. Steve said that Nintendo would not be at the Game Awards. They were. So no points awarded there. Prediction number 1, I said that we would get a look at Horizon DLC. That did happen. Steve said we would get a look at Elden Ring DLC, which surprisingly didn't happen.
That was Max. But yeah.
I'm sorry.
didn't happen.
Max said that one. My bad.
was
I'm
like
really
2 days.
shocked that you didn't get a point
2
for that.
days off on that.
Yeah. They announced the
Yeah, we got a
multiplayer.
look beforehand. Yeah.
But I was thinking that they were going to announce that and
was
they were
out.
going to show the story DLC at the Game Awards, and they didn't do
Me
it.
too. Yeah.
Crazy. And then Steve.
Miyazaki did say that that they were promising that they could be working on something. for Elden
He
Ring.
did say they were going to do more stuff with
obscure.
Elden Ring. He did say that.
that's called a half point in my eyes. But
You
yeah,
can have a
whatever.
half point if you want. It still keeps you in last. I'm fine with that.
Cool. Where's the half
That's,
point
no,
button?
whatever. You know what? You losers want to claw your little points. Go ahead. And then Steve said that Kojima's game will be revealed, which, yeah,
It was.
fair enough.
Yeah. It's the one that he was like, "Who am I? Where am I?" That like fucking thing that he's been doing for like a whole year. With like we found out was Elle Fanning and stuff when
Yeah.
he was like posting it on his website. Finally, fucking revealed, and it's Death Stranding
It's
2,
real.
which we guessed anyway.
Okay, so then we'll start going through the actual awards themselves. For most anticipated game, I predicted Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Max predicted Starfield. Steve predicted Resident Evil 4. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom 1 for the 3rd year in a row.
No,
and-
this is the first time it's won. The last 2 years was Elden Ring.
Really?
Yep.
No, wait. It definitely won in one of the last 2 years.
Don't believe so.
Look it up. Look it up right now. I'm
Let's
pretty
take
sure.
his point. Take the man's point away.
Best
I'll look it up in
adaptation.
silence.
Both Max and I guessed Arcane would take it. Steve guessed Cyberpunk Edge Runners would take it, and Arcane was the winner. So both Max and I scored a point there.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Pete,
For,
Steve's got you, mate. 2020 Elden Ring, 2021 Elden Ring, 2022 Legend of Zelda Tears of the Cloud.
really?
whatever it's
Maybe it
called.
was in
yeah.
2018 that it won then, because it definitely won before.
I
But
don't think it has. I think this is the first time it's won that one.
All right.
Was it
It's been
announced
nominated
in
3 times
2018?
at this point.
you know what? I stand corrected.
Was it announced in 2018?
No,
No
but
idea.
if you remember, when it was previously entered, it was the unannounced. It was the sequel to Breath of the Wild because we didn't have a
that's
title
the
yet.
thing. Was that revealed in 2018? I'm pretty sure that was 2019 E3.
You know what? You might be right. Who's to say?
Me.
For
I'm taking a point for that.
best debut indie, Oh, so you're in second place now? Steve's in third? Is that what we're doing?
Perfect. Well, we're drawing at the moment.
He's trying to cheat. Now he's cheating. Bunch of cheaters. Best debut indie. We all voted Vampire Survivors, and it went to Stray.
When I think about it, the fact that Stray was nominated for Game of the Year and Vampire Survivors wasn't, kind of.
And best indie.
Yeah, kind of. Really, that was on us, really.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree. I feel like people would have gone, oh, as a contingency, we'll give Vampire Survivors best indie.
I don't think enough people played it.
Unfortunately, they didn't, and we know that now. So.
No, but next year, best mobile game.
Another category that we all got wrong was best multiplayer game. It went to Splatoon 3. I guessed Multiversus. Max guessed Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and Steve also guessed Call of Duty, and it went to Splatoon 3. Best
I play, I think.
Yeah, fair enough, I guess. Best sport/racing game. We all guessed Gran Turismo 7. Gran Turismo 7 did win. This is one of the few couple categories that we all got right. For best sim strategy game, I guessed Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Max guessed Dune Spice Wars, and Steve guessed Total War Warhammer 3. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope was the winner, giving me 1 point. For best family game, both Steve and I guessed Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Max guessed Lego Skywalker Saga, and Kirby won. I was surprised by that one, honestly.
I would like to go back through this podcast and work out how many of the ones that where I go, I would like to say this, but I think it will be this, and how many of them I actually got right. Because I feel like
you gotta just go with your gut, man.
You gotta go with your gut,
yeah.
Best fighting game went to Multiversus.
You're the tastemaker, remember?
Exactly,
you're number one tastemaker, so whatever you think is right goes. That's what everyone else is thinking.
That's the way. So yeah, best fighting game went to Multiversus. Really happy to see that. That was a cool one. They did get to give a speech as well, and it was very nice to see them get that W.
Yeah, it was really cool to claim a point for that. It's really nice.
Yeah, it was good. I loved it. Best RPG went to Elden Ring. This is another one we all got right. Not surprising at all. Best action adventure game went to God of War Ragnarok. Not surprising.
Nothing but net.
Nothing but net. Yeah, 3 in a row. We all got totally right. Best action game went to Bayonetta 3. We all got that one wrong. Steve and I thought it would be Sifu. Max thought it would be TMNT Shredder's Revenge. In retrospect, probably should have guessed Bayonetta, but hey, that's what it happens.
No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe Bayonetta's bigger than I think it is.
Best VR/AR game went to Moss Book 2, which is the only other game on this list I knew, and I wish I would have guessed it. I guessed Among Us. Max guessed Red Matter 2. Steve guessed Bone Lab. None of them won. For best mobile game, we all guessed Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap was the winner. Hell yeah. Love that. Absolute slam dunk. Was another one where they got to give a speech, and it was cool to see both of those studios that are small indie startups, that this was their first game.
I didn't realize it was the same team that worked on Hearthstone when he was giving the speech.
It's not the same team, but he was one of the orchestrators of Hearthstone and then left and started the studio.
And seemed to bring a bunch of those veterans along with him and built this out.
That's why it's so good.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. And Multiverse is a similar story. It's a bunch of ex-Riot people and people that worked on like Fortnite and some other games, and they broke off and started doing their own thing. So yeah, cool to see. A game I really, really enjoy. Best indie, we all guessed it would go to Stray. Unsurprisingly, it went to Stray. I liked Stray. I'm disappointed that it won. I don't think it was the best game in the category, but also a game that profound amount of work went into, and it's very special, and a lot of people liked it. So I'm glad to see it get its flowers nonetheless. Again, new bright young studio, so always good to see a small young team get a win. Best ongoing game went to Final Fantasy XIV, which both of you guessed. I guessed Destiny 2. Final Fantasy XIV was the winner. Games for Impact, we all guessed As Dusk Falls. That was the winner. And then for best performance, of course, the iconic Christopher Judge speech that will go down in Game Awards infamy. He was the winner. Ashley Birch was Steve's guess. She did not win.
Who?
Oh, come on now. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Audio design went to God of War Ragnarok, and we all guessed wrong on that one. Steve and I guessed GT7. Max guessed Elden Ring. I was happy to see this one.
I was closest.
You were?
But yes, I was also happy.
You were closest while still being exactly the same amount of wrong, which is interesting. But I was glad to see this. I think God of War has really good sound design, and it's something that we called out that it had great design and that it was worthy of a win, but none of us thought it was going to clinch it. So pretty cool to see. Score and music went to God of War Ragnarok as well. We all guessed Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
I think I know what happened here is that the guys who did the voting didn't listen to the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 soundtrack, and that's why God of War won.
Yeah.
It's the only
Too
excuse.
woke. Yeah, they didn't listen. They didn't even listen to the soundtrack.
Exactly.
This was where one of my favorite animal moments happened with Bear McCreary. This was cute. And he's great. Great at what he does. So not sad to see him win. As much as I do think Xenoblade absolutely had a slapper of a soundtrack. For art direction, it went to Elden Ring. Steve and I guessed Stray. Max guessed Scorn. Okay, cool one. Yeah, great to see Elden Ring pick up another dub. For narrative, unsurprisingly,
You definitely disagree with that big time.
I definitely disagree with that big time, but that's okay. I'm not gonna. I don't need to take shots at the king from Software, right?
That was the most like sarcastic. Like, yep, great to see him get another dove. Yeah, let's move on now. Talk about something else.
Let's talk about any other game.
The gracious clap where you don't win the award. Like
when you see them almost coming out the seat. Yeah.
Like, wow, I lost. Huh? Oh, okay. Great. That would have been me. That would have been me this time around. I've been like, oh, okay, interesting. So narrative, unsurprisingly, went to God of War Ragnarok. Game direction, I think, unsurprisingly, went to Elden Ring. We guessed right on both of those. And then, of course, Game of the Year. Both Max and I said God of War Ragnarok. Steve guessed Elden Ring.
Triple points for guessing the Game of the Year, right?
Sorry, no, that's not how that works.
Wow.
I think you should do one, personally.
So, yeah, I mean, there you go.
Anything other than Elden Ring. That's all I got to sound out.
I'm pretty sure. Game of the Year. Again, I'm pretty sure I say I want it to be Elden Ring. That was my choice, but I went with God of War because I thought I was playing the game, playing the odds.
You did,
and obviously it's blown up in my face.
Something I did want to call out, despite and I'm happy to give credit where credit's due. Right, I'm generally not a fan of the Souls-like, but From Software, this is their second Game of the Year award winner in only 4 years. Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice won in 2019. Incredible.
Another slam dunk game.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Right? Really incredible. For them to be able to achieve such high quality on seemingly short timeline,
It's a really short timeline, especially if they're doing Armored Core like in the background.
They have
as
multiple
well.
teams.
Yeah, it's still impressive though that one studio is able to put that much out.
Yeah.
So do you I've been sitting on this until we got to this part of the show. I'm actually excited for Armored Core. I used to play Armored Core back on the PS2, and I really hope that I can have the character development of the guy who's like, I don't really like From Software games unless they're Armored Core, because...
Yeah, sorry, I really glossed over that at the start because Steve said it was surprising. I do apologise for that. I'm looking forward to seeing what a post-Souls Armored Core... I know there was one after there was one in 2012, but I'm looking forward to seeing, it's a completely different studio. They've worked on nothing but Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, those Elden Ring, those style games in the last, since 2012, basically. I want to see what that does to Armored Core and whether that translates into like a newer version of this sort of this franchise has had numerous entries, as someone who's never played Armored Core. So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. So, Steve, how did you feel about this? Were you happy to see them get the W?
Yeah, I was really happy. I don't feel like it could be any other game really in my mind. Even having not played many of the other nominees, it just had to be Elden Ring. And
yeah,
he seemed really gracious in his acceptance speech. Well, the whole time I was like, who the hell's that behind them? And then I found out at the end.
Dude, I was literally sitting there like, who is this child that snuck up on stage? And then it was actually a child that snuck up on stage. And I don't want to give it a lot of oxygen, right? Like, this story's still developing, and to the point where I don't really feel comfortable commenting on it. But what a truly absurd moment that was. And to watch everybody react to it, it was just like, what the fuck just happened, you know? I can't believe nobody in security, like, tackled this fucking kid. Like, you know? Like,
Well, like, even
Why did he get up
clocked
on
it happening,
stage?
right?
yeah. Or, like, killed the mic. Like, it's nuts. It's nuts that it happened the way that it happened.
I am glad that he did wait until they finished their speech and he didn't Kanye West jump out in front of them or something, because that was their big moment, and I'm glad they did actually get to enjoy that moment for how weird it was. Obviously, it's now going to be tarnished forever with that.
It's all right. They'll get another one in 4 years' time.
I just hope they come back.
2 years.
I hope that this didn't make them feel like they don't want to come back.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, we don't know. We haven't had a reaction.
They've got such a connection with Jeff, though, from what it seems like, being able to announce Armored Core. They obviously announced Elden Ring. They showed off the gameplay for Elden Ring with him. So they've clearly got a connection with him, in the same way that Kojima does.
Yeah, he's got the trust. But yeah, I think, like we said at the top, overall, pretty good show. Pretty good show. I think, good mix of announcements, real improvement, I think, in a lot of ways over last year. I hope that it continues on this upward trajectory. Because for all the things you can criticize the show for, of which there are several, it's an award show, it's a popularity contest, and a bunch of commercials, right? Like, that is what it is. It's easy to be cynical about that, but I enjoyed the show, right? I enjoy watching it every year, and I think this is the most enjoyable it's been to watch in a couple years.
Let me tell you, I slept very soundly the whole way through it.
That's a good way to watch it, because you can skip through the bits you don't care about.
Yeah, you always watch it time shifted. But yeah, I think another Game Awards in the books here. So thank you guys for joining us. Thanks to everybody who wrote in. And I'm sorry if we didn't get to your comments or your questions. This is a long one already, so we had to cut a ton of stuff we wanted to talk about. So I do appreciate you writing in, and if any of it is relevant for next week, we'll save it for next week. So you can.
And there's also more game of the year conversations to look forward to, right?
That's right, because the real game of the year hasn't been named yet. FlipScreen Games Game of the Year is going to be our first episode in 2023. So look forward to that in January. We want to take we're going to take like the last, week or so off of the month to celebrate the holidays, and we'll use that time to catch up on all the games that we missed this year, or finish up the ones that we're playing right now.
All of them.
Every one. I'm going to beat Elden Ring in one day. So yeah, definitely look forward to that one. Make sure you get ready to write in. We want to hear from you, the listeners, about what your favorite games were this year and all that good stuff. So definitely look forward to that conversation as well. And we did talk a little bit about the Game Awards over on the Steam Deck podcast this week, which will be dropping tomorrow for you listeners, if you're listening to this now. So go check that out as well if you haven't already. We talked all about Valve's presence at the Game Awards, as well as a couple other things. And we'll be talking about some of the Nintendo announcements on next week's Nintendo Noise. So plenty of conversation to come in the next couple weeks as the year winds down and we head into 2023, which, man, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a hell of an episode when we talk about the calendar for 2023, because it is shaping up to be a banger of a year.
Yes, it's that like mid-generation finally like ramping up.
Yeah,
it seems.
And like
and
all
also
the games,
probably a bunch of the like post-pandemic delays like finally getting released.
Just all lining up right in like a 3 to 6 month window. It's like the first half of this year is like has as many big releases as this year had in its entirety. I think it's nuts. And even knowing video games, some of them will get delayed, but even if they don't, we got a hell of a year ahead of us. So I'm looking forward to it. So make sure you keep it locked here on FlipScreen Games, right? Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. Remember, FlipScreen.games, that's the website where you can get involved. You can become a Patreon supporter. You can join our Discord. You can check out our Twitch channel and all the other places that we're making content. However you choose to get involved. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the FlipScreen Games Podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Max. He's been Steve. We'll see you next week for episode 70 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast. Take it easy, everybody.